To be honest, I've seen very few dating coaches that I have ever been impressed with. And by very few, I think one or two. And that's out of a litany of women that have come forth and put their YouTube channels out there. And I mean, there's more women coaches than there are men's dating coaches nowadays. Contrary to what most people believe, women give the worst dating advice. And it takes a lot of men some time to figure this out. And some men, they never figure it out. They keep trying, but women keep telling them they want, and they keep over and over again getting rejected, wondering why isn't this working? From my personal perspective, there's two types of people that give great advice in this. One is somebody that is inherently good with women. Not that he's going to always give you the greatest advice. Sometimes he doesn't have self-awareness to understand what he's actually doing. Number two, somebody that used to be where you were and taught themselves how to get to where you want to be. The second one is by far the best, and those are the kind of people you want to look at as coaches. Women, unfortunately, they have never been even in a guy's shoes. So how can they ever accept or ever think that they could possibly give guys good advice? If you're somebody that's studied for a decade on how you think men think and move, you might have an inkling of what's going on. But men and women have such an alien experience to each other in life, not just because their world around them reacts to them differently than it does to the other, but also because the brains are wired completely differently. We're aliens. Another reason is these girls are coaching their ideal Brad Pitt, the guys that they generally date. They're like, okay, cool, the guys I date now, how would I like them to be so that I could keep them in a relationship? Because for a girl, the whole point of dating is to get a relationship. For a guy, most of you guys can't even get a girl to like you long enough to even think about a relationship. A lot of you guys are so thirsty to have sex with a girl because you know that it's your closest chance of getting a girl. And that's the majority of society. And these women are teaching the Brad Pitts. They're not thinking about the creepy guy that approached them in the mall who said one word and ran away, which is the guy that needs the dating advice, not Brad Pitt. To be fair, women don't even know where that mindset comes from and would even be mean or cruel. They also let their past traumas dictate their advice. And instead of being open and caring and loving and understanding, sometimes will let a little bit of their passive aggression into their advice with men. Not exactly very good if you're looking for somebody to coach you. And lastly, they give soft advice. They give advice that sounds good in theory, but doesn't actually help out a guy that is absolutely struggling. You tell a guy, hey, don't dress in this, don't wear this, don't do that. But there's so many girls that would actually like that. Don't take her to this place on a date. Cool. But can you teach a guy how to be charismatic, how to be witty, how to be funny? Can you teach a guy how to be resolute in the face of rejection, how to be free of outcome, how to have fun, how to chase a purpose? To be fair, probably not. Because a lot of the girls, I'm not going to lie, girls, I'm sorry, some of you guys are hilarious. The majority of you guys are not funny. You guys suck on dates. You guys are the worst on dates. When I coach a guy, almost 95% of the time, 99% of the time, I am the one that is making all the jokes. I'm the one where you are sitting on your heels receiving. So when it comes to dating advice in that terms, you women are generally pretty sucky at it. I'm hoping this girl can prove me wrong in these aspects, can prove to me that she can be a good coach, that she knows what the hell she's doing. Now, with that being said, let's get into the video.
Yo, bitch, I got some buzzes clawing at my fucking stomach. I'm from the shadows.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to have a great first date. So after the last video I posted reacting to Alpha M,
I really love her setup though. When she did her makeup, she's a very pretty girl.
I was wondering, can I have your number? Can I have your number? Would you give me your area code and phone number? Can I have your number? Can I have your number? Can I have it?
a lot of outreach from all of you asking me tips just for dating in general, how to talk to women, first date tips, things like that. So I thought, why not combine it into a video? So in this video, I'm going to be talking about 5 tips to have a great first date. So regardless of what the outcome of the date might be, you're not going to leave the date thinking, I could have done this better, or I should have done this instead. If you follow these 5 tips, you will have a great first date. So following these 5 tips are going to set you up for success and ensure that you have the best first date possible. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. So number 1 on my list is to dress well. So I'm not saying dress like someone you're not, or dress like what you think she would want you to look like, because let's say you have a second date and you bought an outfit for the first date and you don't have any more clothes like that, she's going to catch on to the fact that maybe on the first date you dressed a little bit to impress her and that is not your actual style. So dress like yourself. When I say dress well, I don't mean dress dress like someone that you're not, but just dress like the best version of yourself. So this is also going to depend on the type of scenario that you're in for your date. So if you're going for brunch on the weekend and it's very casual, you're going to want to dress in something like jeans and sneakers and a nice shirt, just looking.
This is honestly something that would be absolutely irrelevant if the guy was cool. So again, she's kind of missing the biggest marks of a good date. To be fair, if she was going to be focusing, which I'm pretty sure she just came up with an SEO title and decided that she was going to just make a video about that. But if you're trying to teach somebody how to have a really good date, you need to teach them how to have a lot of good dates. You need to teach them how to maybe take her to the right place to do this, to do that. Dressing is a very good, like if you have a date tonight, you have one date, and I have to give you the best advice to have that one date. This would be not terrible advice. You dress better and then you feel better. So I don't mind it, but long-term advice, it's very short-sighted. Otherwise though, it's fine by me.
A little bit more casual to fit the setting that you're going to be in. Say you're maybe meeting after work for a drink or dinner. Maybe you're a little bit more business casual, something like that. So I'm not going to get super specific into what to wear.
I was so tempted to fast forward it.
I think that's very specific and a little bit too zoned in and really could be a video in its own. So if you guys would want to see that, let me know in the comments below. So just generally dress for the setting that you're going to be in. You don't want to look like you tried too hard. So definitely don't come wearing a full-fledged suit unless for some reason you are famous and rich and fancy. Going to a gala and taking her for the first date, which I really wouldn't recommend in the first place, but just make sure you're dressing for the occasion. And like I said, dress like the best version of yourself. You should look like you spent a little time getting ready. You don't want to look like you rolled out of bed. So if I showed up to the first date and the guy shows up and his V-neck is looking like a U-neck and he looks like he was out partying all night and maybe has the worst hangover of his life, it's going to be an initial turnoff. And as much as I hate to say it, a lot of girls are that way. I'm not saying that looks are everything, but first impressions are very important, so you're gonna wanna make a good one. All right, guys, next on my list is to pick the perfect place. So this is going to differ depending on where you live, what season it might be. If you're in California and it's sunny and 75 and beautiful all year, you're probably going to have more options than someone like me that lives in Cleveland, where it's cold 7 months of the year and there's not really that much fun stuff to do in the winter time. So keep that in mind as well. So you're gonna wanna pick somewhere where you're going to be able to get to know them to an extent. You don't want to get to know them too much on the first date. As silly as that might sound, I don't recommend bringing her to your place on the first date. I think going somewhere public where you can be in a public setting but get to know each other a little bit more one-on-one is very important. So like I said about bringing someone to your personal space on the first date, this is just so that you don't show all your cards on the first date. You want to leave a little room for imagination, a little room for mystery. Don't want to show everything you have to offer on the first date. That is something that maybe will come after a few dates, after you get to know the person. You decide if you really like them or not. But for the first date, you're going to want to pick somewhere public, like I said, where you can get to know each other a little bit better. So another thing I want to point out is that I don't think a very fancy dinner date is a good first date, because if you don't even know if you like this girl or not, why do you want to spend tons of money on her? Also, a fancy dinner date is not a great first date because you kind of lock yourself into this very nice, long, drawn out, formal meal. Say you get like 20 minutes into this date and you know that you do not like this girl, you are stuck there in a 4-course meal with a girl that you don't like.
It's also too so much so fast. A lot of girls that go on these really hefty dates, they will be more likely to flake because you're putting a lot of pressure on them. And then because you're putting so much pressure on them, you don't even know them. You don't even know if you like them yet. So basically what you're doing is you're like, I already like you. It's like, it's a form of neediness. You want to go somewhere where it's very light energy, where yes, it is public, but it is not that big a deal. I will even go and I'll work before the girl meets me. I'll hang out there for like an hour or two and work on my laptop, 3 hours sometimes. I'll smoke hookah and chill. A lot of you guys should also probably find somewhere. So if you guys work on your laptops and you guys are digital nomads, similar to me, I would suggest actually going to the same place to work every day. Find somewhere close to your place, has attractive girls, has alcohol, is dark, hookah lounge, bar, party, restaurant, wherever you're going to go, somewhere where you can take a girl on a date, then what happens is the girls start recognizing you. You start becoming more liked, especially as you keep bringing in girls on dates. The girls will start chasing you, start flirting with you, which will make the other girls that come on the date start flirting with you. And all the way around, it's a net positive. That's my advice. If I were to do this video, that's my advice.
I have to pay for her. So keep that in mind. That's why I would never recommend a super nice place for a first date. Go somewhere casual, go somewhere fun. You really want to get to know the person a little bit more here. Don't show your cards. Don't show that you have tons of money, because you're going to attract the wrong type of girl that way. So you're going to want to be able to have a conversational element on your first date. You're not going to go somewhere where the talking is limited, like maybe a movie. A movie is seriously the worst place to take someone for a first date if you've never met them before. So if you're friends and you've been friends for a while, and maybe you're just starting to have a romantic interest in them, and you take them on a date to a movie, that's not the end of the world. But if you meet a girl online and take her to the movies for the very first time you meet her, you're both going to be sitting there in the dark very awkwardly, sharing a thing of popcorn, and it's just going to be so awkward and so uncomfortable. And even worse, you're not going to be able to get to know them at all, because you're going to be sitting in silence in a movie for 2 hours. So like I said, somewhere public, somewhere fun where you can get to know them a little bit is always very important. So this leads me into my next point, which is conversation. So I would argue that conversation is the most important part of a first date. On your first date, you should get to know a little bit more about who this girl is, what she's into. You should definitely be curious and ask her questions, but she should be doing the same for you. So if she is not giving you anything in return and she doesn't seem like she wants to get to know you at all, then maybe that should be a sign to you that maybe she just isn't into you. And that's totally fine. Not every girl you go on a date with is going to be into you, and vice versa, and that's totally okay. So say you met this girl online and you've creeped on her Instagram and you know things about her that maybe you shouldn't at this point. I don't know if guys do that, but girls do that. Don't ask her questions that you think she's gonna want to answer or that are going to make her like you more. You're gonna want to be candid in this. You're not gonna want to pre-prepare your questions or seem like a robot. You're going to want to go with the flow, ask her about the...
Actually, I'm going to talk about a subject previously. Let the girl check your house out. How do I do this in a politically correct way? So there's going to be people that love this girl. They're going to watch this video. Now, as a heads up, I am not indicating you do anything illegal. I'm not indicating that you play with the girl's emotions. I'm not indicating that you do anything of a negative nature. However, what I am saying is definitely lead it towards something that is, to be fair, if a girl fucks you and has sex with you, if a girl hangs out your place, she's more likely to hang out with you again, because action feeds ego. The more that she has taken action that says that she must like you, so she has sex with you, the more likely she is again to hang out with you a second time around if you like her. And you're competing against other guys. There's other guys in her phone. These girls are not just dating separately from you. They have other guys. And that's the thing that I also get annoyed with these girls who are like, players. I'm like, girl, you're doing the same fucking thing. Why are you punishing guys for that shit? So here's the thing. Yes, have sex with a girl if you think you can. If you feel like you're going to trip 10 yards away from the end zone, don't do it. Instead, set up for a second date. Because if you get close to closing and you don't close, she's going to second guess it. And she's going to think to herself, if I go on another date with him, he's going to push for sex. And I don't like the extra pressure because I don't know if I like him yet. If that's the case, hold out till a second date.
Things, notice the things that she's into and the things that she lights up when she talks about, and stick to those things, and maybe see if you can bounce off of those and flow with the conversation, and see if the things that she lights up about are things that you guys both have in common. And a very important point about the whole conversation element is don't sit there and talk about yourself the entire time. I personally have been on first dates where all the guy does is talk about himself and doesn't ask me anything. It's really awkward and just very unenjoyable for the other party if the person that you're with is sitting there talking about themselves the whole time and not asking you anything.
That's actually good advice. That's a red flag. Again, none of this advice is super hard hitting, but she's not trying to be. She's trying to be a YouTuber. I think it's so far it's very lukewarm good. It's lukewarm good.
in return. So I'm sure that is just as frustrating for a guy if you're the one that's asking all the questions and she's not giving you anything in return. It's just not really great, and it's kind of a turnoff. So don't be that guy that sits there and talks about himself the entire date. Show curiosity in her if you're interested. If you're not, well, then you know you don't want to take her on a second date. At the end of your conversation on your first date, you should really evaluate, do I want to get to know this girl more? Do I think we're compatible at all? Is it even worth me going on a second date with her? So these are all going to be things that you're going to want to think.
So this is where she's coming from a girl's perspective. Most guys wouldn't be thinking like that on a first date. They would be thinking, how do I get her? Why? Because the majority of guys are terrible with women and have no options. And if they did come across a girl that had any attraction towards them, they'd backwards rationalize that she was the greatest thing on planet Earth because they have no options and their brain is going to give them one-itis. So if you don't have any options, you're going to settle for any girl you have. So if a girl's on a date with you and she doesn't like you, how do I make her like me? If a girl's on a date with you and she likes you, let's get married. So that's the big thing that you have to think. So you can't give people advice. So for Brad Pitt, this would be good advice. For somebody that's already good with girls, this is good advice. But for a guy which is the majority of guys that are going to be watching this video, who are watching our channel, not great advice.
After that first date, which is why it's so important to have a nice conversation and to be in a place where you're able to do that. So my next point, number 4, is knowing when to stop the date or knowing when to continue. So this is another reason why it's so important to pick a place that is public, that has a definite end. For example, maybe you take her out to brunch and the end of that part of the date is when the bill is paid and you guys are done eating. Maybe you've sat there and talked for a little bit. At that point, you need to decide, do I want to continue my date with this girl, or am I not really feeling it and we should just end it here? So maybe you're feeling like you're ready to go. Maybe you're getting vibes from her that she's ready to go. Maybe you're not feeling it. At that point, I would just call it quits. Obviously, be polite. Say that you had a nice time and say your goodbyes. But if you feel like you're both having a really great time and there is still more fun to be had, then be spontaneous and ask her to join you on something that maybe you were planning on doing next or later in the day. For example, me and Teddy had brunch on our first date and we just clicked so instantly and naturally, and really neither one of us, I think, were ready to end our date at just brunch. So
they went to her bed.
Invited me to go shopping with him. He had to run a few errands, and so I tagged along.
2 hours later.
Another thing I will say is pay the bill. On the first date, I personally am a girl. I have traditional values. I like when the guy pays. I think it's attractive.
Do what you guys want. Don't listen to that. If you guys want to pay, pay. If you don't want to pay, don't pay. She's going to follow your lead if she's attracted to you. If you're a dominant force in her life, she's going to do whatever you want. Pay if you want to. Don't pay if you don't want to. It doesn't make you more attractive or less attractive. What makes you attractive is how you react to whatever decision you make after she shit tests you or pushes on you. That's what's going to dictate this. If she is the kind of girl that gets so fucking upset about the fact that you didn't pay, there's a red flag.
On the first date, at least. Sometimes me and Teddy now split things. We take turns paying, which is totally fine. But on the first date, take initiative and pay the bill. It's really awkward sometimes when...
And just to clarify too, I don't mind paying the bill. That's not a big deal for me. Makes me feel like a man. I just don't like it when women coach guys up to be pussies. And girls have 2 different types of attraction. They have logical and emotional attraction. Emotional attraction is how she reacts to the way you move, speak, the way you act, the way you handle adversity, the way you handle her shit. And then girls have the side where they're like, logically, I want this. Logically, I want a guy that will pay the bill. But she's not going to fuck the guy that pays the bill. She's not going to want to date or be around the guy that pays the bill. She's going to date the guy that makes her feel emotional. And if that's not you, if you make her feel creepy, if you don't know how to make a conversation engaging and fun, she knew how to make this YouTube video absolutely fucking hilarious. I don't know what to tell you. So the advice she's giving, again, is very 2-dimensional. So kind of, honestly, back to my beliefs prior to this video. So nothing has changed. I'm going to be the same piece of shit that I've always been.
Thinking about when the bill's going to come and they're going to put it on the table and you don't know who's going to reach for it.
Maybe in the final 25% of this video, she'll save it.
So just take the initiative and grab for it. The girl's going to like that, I promise. So if you guys end up parting ways after this first part, you know that you don't want to see her again, don't tell her that you want to see her again. You don't need to lie. Obviously, you don't need to be mean and tell her that she was the worst person ever and to have a horrible day. But, you know, be polite and don't tell her that you want to see her again if you don't. So that leads me to number 5 on my list is be clear about next steps. So like I said, be honest if you don't want to see her again. Maybe she's really into you and you are just not feeling her.
She's giving advice based on past trauma. It's completely, this isn't, she's coaching guys, she's teaching the Brad Pitts of the world how not to hurt her. Which the Brad Pitts of the world aren't watching her videos.
Her hopes up and are thinking that she's going to see you again. If you're someone that is just a one-night stand type of guy and you're hanging out with just a one-night stand type of girl, this probably does not apply to you. But if you're someone that's looking for something serious and you know that the girl is too and you've made that clear from the beginning, then I think it's very important to just be very clear and very honest about expectations and how you're...
It puts too much pressure on the date so fast. You don't do that. You don't do that. You give time and you take your time. Giving so much so fast, if a girl, like, let the girl ask. The girl's going to ask eventually, and it's also going to put her in her court. If the guy asks, the girl's going to become less attracted. So, bad advice.
So when your date comes to an end, you don't have to tell her right away, like, when can I see you again? You honestly don't want to seem too eager or too available. So give it some thought. Think about maybe where you'd want to take her next. You don't need to jump on something so quickly. Don't tell her what you think she wants to hear. If you're not sure if you want to see her again, don't say anything yet. Just go home, think about it, sleep on it, and see where you end up. So another important thing here is to not make yourself seem so available. I think a lot of times it's a turnoff for girls if you're super available and ready to see them 24/7. While this might seem great in the beginning, there comes a point when this ends and you're not always going to be available to spend 24/7 with them. So you don't want to set unrealistic expectations in the very...
That's not really the reason why she gave really good advice, but they then gave really shitty reasoning. Fuck this video. All right, so what is my final verdict? Girls can't coach. So women who will probably eventually watch and downvote this video, please let me know in the comment section below how I'm very wrong. Or better yet, make a YouTube channel actually coaching guys applicable advice that helps them out, instead of coaches up your future fuckboy. The guys you're coaching in this video are not the ones that you're ultimately dating, to be fair. You're a very gorgeous girl, and we both know that the nice guys are not the ones that you're absolutely drawn to. I've worked very diligently to put together video after video for you guys to check out and to watch. Now, if you guys want to see more of this stuff, please hit the subscribe and the notification bell. I think for most items, it's down here or it's over here. Hit it wherever the fuck it is. And don't forget to comment, to like it, to watch more of my videos. Click on the end screen videos. I'll put some good stuff for there at the very end. And if you guys were looking to do a bootcamp with me, let me know at 702-841-9909. And with that being said, peace.